wave or nothing? Jeez. Alright, so I've been uploading. I think I've uploaded a total of 6 videos at this point. Jeez. And I've actually forced myself to sit through and watch. Well, I've obviously had to watch them because I've edited them, but there's not really a whole lot of editing. I'm not, doing a lot of cut and pasting. Usually just kind of cutting out gaps where I'm not talking about anything or shortening some of the audio clips. I do find I am saying a whole lot. And I've also found there's a couple videos I've just kind of cut out altogether because the ranting is a little excessive and not constructive at all in any way. Not that, like I said, these videos are meant to be entirely constructive for people to watch as a consumer, but I felt that the video was either so short, or the content was irrelevant, that the purpose wasn't really worth the upload. Either way, I don't know, I'm still probably about 2 or 3 weeks behind on uploads, so I gotta kind of ramp up my workflow of this to catch up to where we are today, because I don't want to be constantly uploading videos that are 2 or 3 weeks old, because that kind of defeats the purpose of following progress. And if there are people that are watching, I don't think they want to see what I was doing 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that is something I need to work on. I'm probably going to try and do another video or 2 tonight, get those uploaded. It's like my first full day off work today, so I think I'm going to take advantage of that. First thing I'm going to take advantage of, though, is a cardio session with a leg day. And because it's our push-pull leg workout, it's going to be mainly isolation movements. So we're looking at extension curls, hip thrusts potentially, but things really not large compound movements, because in another 2 days we're going to have our lower body workout, which I tend to focus more so on squats and presses and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to focus on today. I did weigh myself again on the scale this morning. Still kind of holding at the just under 100 kilos weight, which is good. I'm just going to drive right into this side of me. One thing I was a bit naughty with last night, not naughty, but I didn't get my macros in that I wanted last night. I was not as organized as I was planning on being, so I was under my caloric intake, which is good, but my protein number was down. I think everything was down, obviously, if I was under my calories. But if I'm under my expected caloric intake, I usually at least like to try and hit my protein, get around 200 grams. So I missed that. But, night shifts are kind of weird, so I don't eat throughout the day. And sometimes the shift doesn't line up, or I don't really have a huge appetite, so I end up not eating everything before I kind of chill out for the evening. Either way, we'll try to make up for it today. It doesn't mean I'm going to be in a caloric surplus, but we're going to definitely make sure we get the protein numbers in what we need for today. And yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go with for now. I found these rants have been getting a little bit longer and longer, so I'm going to try and keep the pre-gym stuff a little bit more concise. Extension curls, probably going to do 2 sets of each, or 2 different exercises of each, probably 3 or 4 sets of each exercise. So that should give us about, 8 working sets for each muscle group. And then we'll throw in likely calf raises and probably some kind of like a hip thrust or hip bridge exercise for glutes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's nothing else really I can think of that I want to throw in. Maybe some RDLs or something like that, but we'll see what's going on. Parking lot is moderately full, so depends what's going on upstairs when we get there. But we'll check in when we get out and see what happened. So leg day was a success. And camera's behaving. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. It was busier than it looked today in that gym. And I'm not I don't know. I imagine a lot of it has to do with school coming back in, and I know it's like already first week of October, but I'm sure there's students and stuff like that are probably in a little bit more of a set routine that are maybe trying to start, oh my god, getting into a workout routine or something, but definitely a busier place today. So pretty much exactly like I mentioned before heading in there was pretty much extensions and leg curls back and forth. What did I do first? Did independent leg curls on like the kneeling leg machine, and then I did bilateral leg extensions, and then bilateral leg curls, and then independent leg extensions. And then we finished the whole thing off with plate-loaded calf raises on the machine. And of course, we started everything off with the cardio on the bike. My Suica game is getting worse, if anything. I find I've been getting horrible scores in that. I can't even, break some of the mediocre scores I was getting a while ago. So my Suica gameplay is not improving. But by all other metrics, we are losing weight and maintaining most of our reps and weight pushes on our lifts. So all the other metrics around the gym are doing all right, not Suica so much, but not a huge deal. So what else was I going to talk about? I was going to touch on the dieting thing. It has been, I don't say it's been difficult, but I find lately, like I've noticed, a change a little bit in my size and appearance, which is nice. That's like always, that kind of reaffirmation of your goals and, why you're busting your butt off at the gym and doing the cardio and counting your calories. So it's nice to have some what's the word you want to use for that, like being able to cash out on some of the hard work a little bit anyways. But I don't know if it's just, I think it's all work sites, but people like to sit around and buy snacks and stuff like that. It's always like a challenge or a test whenever everyone's picking up stuff and inviting you to eat their baked goods, especially this time of year. So that has been a tricky challenge. I haven't had a lot of difficulty. I'm pretty good with fighting off the urges or the impulses to say yes and start mowing down on a bunch of baked goods, but it is seeming to be ever present on the job site right now. Anyways, I'm just swinging by the house. I'm going to grab a change of clothes, and I'm going to hop back out here, and I got to finish up a couple things and talk about the dieting progress and stuff like that. So give me 1 second. Hopefully that behaves. Try not to make this too long, I guess. So yeah, about the dieting. And it being difficult at work. I think that's probably one of it's probably the most difficult parts, but it's also one of the coolest parts about being, not cool. Yeah, it is cool. Like when you're on a diet and people are like, they see you microwaving eggs every day, or you're eating just ground beef and cottage cheese. And, you know, everyone's always asking, like, you know, how are you doing that? Or I can't believe you eat that. Or people are like, that's gross. Like, that's kind of like the sick part of being committed to a diet and really locking in on it, is that, yeah, you look like a bit of a maniac at first, maybe. And people think you're nuts, but once you start reaping the benefits of it, that's when it starts to get pretty cool. And the same thing goes when you're on the other end, you know, when you're eating in a surplus and you're trying to put on muscle, and, you know, it's actually, what's the word? It would be like intentional weight gain through muscle, not just, you know, throwing pounds on by eating a crap ton of junk and, you know, gaining a ton of fat. That's kind of in the same sense, you know, like that's like the cool part of when you're going through a transition of either, you know, calorie deficit or calorie surplus, right? The first few weeks when you're kind of suffering by yourself and people are asking why the hell you're doing this and you don't see any changes yet, that's the tough part. That's like the testing phase, those first 2-3 weeks, sometimes even a month, where you're stuck in limbo and, you know, you're starving all the time, or, you know, you're harping down food and you're not seeing any changes in the gym or on the scale. That's the period of time that tests your commitment or your willingness to, you know, to want the end goal. Because anytime you're going to do any changes to your body, like I said, whether it be weight gain or weight loss, it's going to be incremental changes. You're never going to have it all happen at once, especially if you have a long-term goal and you're looking at, you know, I don't want to say recomposition, but if you're trying to drastically change your body composition, you can't do it all in one bulk and then, you know, expect to cut it all off, because, like I mentioned in one of my other videos, whenever you cut, you're always going to be cutting muscle off, and whenever you bulk, you're always going to be gaining fat. So it truly is a battle of attrition, if you will, against you and your mind. It's your body versus your brain. So let's hope that with my current goal, we're able to achieve it before either my mind breaks down. I don't think your body will. You'd have to be through a pretty sick diet to have your, body start having significant problems. But that's more of a medical conversation about body dysmorphia, or like eating habits and all that stuff, which we're not going to get into. It's a little too heavy and deep for a conversation in the car right now. So yeah, I got a big slab of ground beef I'm going to cook up when we get back home. I haven't really eaten much today. I had a protein bar when I first got home, just because I hadn't really committed to eating anything while I was at work. So uses a little bit of a pre-workout snack / some carbs / just some calories to hopefully make the leg day not a complete loss. But I think that's where we're going to cap it off for today. I do feel like the conversation part of things is getting a little bit more easy. I'm hoping this translates into answering questions, in interviewing. I mean, it can only get better from here. So I think one step I'm going to work on for my med school interviews, if I get invited to do interviews, is I'm going to try and pick a random topic. So what I might do is I'll have, maybe I'll do a chat GPT thing where we get in the truck in the morning and I'll ask it to, generate a random question about something, and I'll have to answer it before we get to the gym. I was supposed to stop there and get propane. So that's an idea I kind of had that I thought would be productive. I mean, these are productive. I don't mind doing these, but I think as far as forcing myself to think of a on the cusp answer of something that I haven't really what would be the word? Kind of thought up or developed an answer prior to starting my recording would probably help me more with my impromptu answering of questions. Anyways, I'm going to end the video off here. I got to grab a few things. Got to charge up the RV. We have some family visiting with us, so I'm going to cap it off, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for upper body day.